Do-Rag Wisdom, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Earth Day Y2K 19.07.01. Please check your message boards from time to time if you want to see if there was a response. If there wasn't, I apologize in advance, but please don't give up. Please read the article in the Washington Post that appeared today by Leah Littman and Seth David, entitled, quote, "A momentous change may be upon the Supreme Court," unquote. Very important. Today's Washington Post. Please, if you have a chance, look it up. Hitler knew that the most important help he needed in taking over the government of Germany was from the courts, the final arbiter. So by the time this monster seized control of Germany, he began to have the courts all in hand, until finally he was able to institute all his evil racial policies. If you remember, among those accused in the post-war Nuremberg trials were judges who went along with the murderous dictator's agenda and essentially paid no attention to stare decisis. Stare decisis. I'm not a lawyer, I'm not versed in the law nor in Latin, and that's the Latin term for, quote, to stand for things decided, unquote. Stare, to stand, decisis, things decided, decisis. In the USA, our courts and the Supreme Court have decided law, precedent. And to avoid overturning law, precedent law, unless this law represents a travesty of justice, such as the separate but equal law that had to be overturned to make way for laws passed, such as Brown versus Board of Education, for example. There are many more examples of precedent, including the right of unions to collect dues, a precedent that was overturned by Trump's new Kangaroo Supreme Court. According to the vile Janus, that's Janus ruling, unions can no longer collect dues. Roe v. Wade is another established law. It's a precedent, which, according to the article cited above, the conservative justices do not believe in, because they do not believe in stare decisis. They do not believe in established precedent, established law. They believe they could overturn it at will. These are the conservatives on the Supreme Court. If you realize the significance of this thing, it's extremely frightening for our democracy. In other words, given the opportunity, these malignant jurist tumors on our court intend to create a rough, stormy sea of unjust change that could help topple our democratic constitutional republic. Part of the Nazi, Trump, Putin plan to plunge us into an acid sea of totalitarianism. This Supreme Court, as now constituted, is not on our side. They are filled to the brim with partisan, right-wing religious extremists. Partisanship and partiality are not allowed in our lower courts. You know, everyone sit to be picked or for a jury. So then why are they allowed in our highest court? Why is partisanship and partiality allowed in our highest court? You know, they're not subject to the judicial ethics. And if you're going to say that our new Supreme Court configuration is totally nonpartisan, then why, pray tell, are all the Trumpist states trying to come up with the best, most draconian anti-abortion laws to bring before the court? Because they believe that this court is partisan and filled with partiality. The extremist right-wing have been working for years to pack the courts with religious extremists. They knew, like Hitler, how important the courts were. And because those on the left were too busy sleeping, the teabagger, Nazi, Trump traitors managed to get control of most of our 50 states and control of most of our federal government so that they can pack our courts. That's a lot of control that these right-wing totalitarians have on us right now. I lose a lot of sleep over it. They have succeeded, these right-wingers, these extremists, these Putinistic Trumpist traitors, and they will continue to pack our courts for as long as Mitch McDumbbell and Nazi Trump and his Fourth Reich continue to stalk our hallowed halls of Congress and of our governance. The Supreme Court did us no favor when they decided on the census citizenship question seemingly in our favor. No citizenship question on our census. But they didn't eliminate it. They kicked it back to the lower courts. That's what they did in the Janus case, we'll talk, or in the Friedrichs case, we'll talk, so that the lower courts can improve upon it and then send it back to the Supremes. Just like they did with the union dues issue, as I said before. First Friedrichs, which rejected, and then Janus, which they affirmed recently. The unions can't collect dues. The Koch brothers and other bosses, fascists, want to kill all the labor unions so they could work us to death and make money on our backs. At the same time, this turd court did nothing about partisan gerrymandering so that our voting rights can be further eroded. I am not surprised by this, because this fake Supreme Court in a previous right-wing incarnation, which included scumbag Scalia, may he rot in pieces, gutted the Voting Rights Act and made corporations people too. Close to 40 to 50 states in our United States of America are controlled by Nazi Trumpists, governed by Nazi Trumpists. They have been given permission by this Kangaroo Supreme Court to gerrymander as much as they wish. The 10 or so states controlled by Democrats must do the same, unfortunately. But again, we are in a cold civil war. The Democratic states are going to have to gerrymander. They too must gerrymander to the full extent as possible, as wrong as it is. This is what we've come to. Most of our federal government is now in the hands of the Nazi Trump traitors, as I've said before. Only the House of Representatives stands between us and total doom down the road. As sure as my name is mud, this new version of the same old kangaroo right-wing court intends to ignore stare decisis and destroy other precedents such as overturning Roe v. Wade, as well as undermining other important laws that protect our constitutional democratic republic. We must stand and stop this! This Nazi Trump reality TV horror show must end. And the only real way we can save our courts and our country is to attend the polls November Y2K20, because our lives literally depend on our eliminating the enemies of our republic. In this cold American Civil War, the right-wing Nazis now have the upper hand.